Wonderful. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. And welcome to Acuity Knowledge Partners webinar, Sales Enablement and Beyond with Seismic, Unlocking Synergies with Marketing Technology. My name is Shipra Srinivasan, Director, Sales and Business Development at Acuity Knowledge Partners. Over the course of my 14 years in the industry, working with major financial institutions, I have continued to see an increase in focus on sales enablement, and particularly greater adoption of Seismic, especially in the last few years. I'm happy to report that we have a very exciting webinar lined up for you today, with over 500 attendees representing 300 global financial institutions. This includes heads of marketing, sales enablement, and marketing technology functions. Thank you all for joining. Before we begin, from a housekeeping perspective, there are a few items that we would like to address. The first and the most obvious is that we would really request all the attendees to please stay on mute during the course of the webinar to avoid any disturbances. We definitely don't want to hear any of those Teams pings and cell phone disturbances. The duration of the webinar will be 1 hour, and towards the end, we will allow for Q&A. However, feel free to ask your questions at any point during the course of the webinar. You will see a box located at the bottom of your screen. Please type in your questions there. I will note that we may not have sufficient time at the end of the webinar to answer all of your questions. Please be assured that we will make sure to get back to you shortly to answer those Q&A. Mostly, we would love for our audience to participate with us today. So we will have 3 polling questions that will come up on your screen during the course of the webinar. We will ask all attendees that you kindly take a few moments to answer those questions. Over the next hour, we're going to have a lively discussion on all things sales enablement and Seismic related. And joining me, we have 3 esteemed panelists, 2 of whom happen to be Acuity clients, Gaurav and Rich, and our very own Naren from Acuity. Please join me in welcoming Gaurav Medekar, VP, Marketing Platforms and Performance Marketing Lead at Neuberger Berman, Richard Horvath, Director, Client Advisory at PGIM Fixed Income, and Narendra Babu, Senior Director, Acuity Knowledge Partners, Financial Marketing Services. I'm sure I cannot do justice to each of their backgrounds, so I'd request each of our panelists to take a few moments to introduce themselves. We'll start with you, Gaurav.
Thank you, Shipra. Let me start off by saying that it's an absolute pleasure to join you all today. I have been in my current role at Neuberger Berman for about 2.5 years. And here I manage their global and cross-business channel marketing platform stack, which includes Seismic and Eloqua, as well as Adobe Analytics and Workfront. Overall, I have worked in the asset management industry for over 15 years in various different roles within marketing and operations.
Great. Rich?
Thank you, Shipra, and thank you for having me. I've been with PGIM Fixed Income almost 6 years now, in the industry over 15, and I'm responsible for content automation and seismic administration within our firm.
Fantastic. Naren?
Thank you, Shipra. I'm part of financial marketing services at Acuity. I've been with the company for over 15 years now. At Acuity, I'm responsible for project transition and setting up high-performing teams to support marketing materials, Seismic, of course, client reports, RFPs, and investment writing for financial institutions. I'm very excited to be part of this discussion today with my esteemed peers from PGIM Fixed Income and Neuberger Berman. Thank you.
Thank you all. You guys all have some great background, which is very relevant to our conversation today. So that leads me to my next question as to why are we actually having this webinar? Historically, if you look at it, the functions of marketing and marketing operations have typically functioned as silos within organizations, while still allowing for sales as well as client services teams to acquire new business and retain existing clients. As you all might appreciate, while this worked to an extent, such an approach often leads to routine challenges of misaligned objectives, limited collaboration, inefficiencies, delayed as well as inconsistent messaging. Today, however, when you look at through the help of centralized sales enablement and marketing technology platforms, teams can now cut through their organizational silos, allowing for better internal as well as external collaboration. Seismic, which I'm sure many of you are aware, is one such widely adopted sales enablement platform. And today we are going to examine how to unlock ROI from this platform. But before we go there, for those of you who don't know Acuity, Acuity is the leading provider of research and analytics services to over 600 financial institutions globally. Our clients include many of your peers, global asset and wealth managers, global banks, as well as private equity institutions. Specifically, we support over 350 asset managers and wealth managers. We provide support to firms, over 100 firms in various marketing, reporting, as well as thought leadership activities. And as it pertains to Seismic, we are well versed in the end-to-end support, including the transition, the setup, as well as leveraging features like Lightbox, LiveSend, and predictive analytics. In essence, we offer value-driven solutions to help our clients get the most out of their Seismic implementations. And I'd also like to call your attention to a very important fact that we are a consultant partner for Seismic. The first part of our discussion today is really going to focus on emerging trends within sales enablement. We are then going to dive a little bit deeper into Seismic and conclude with some useful insights which our attendees can implement across their organizations. So without further ado, let's get started with our first questions for our panelists. So Gaurav and Rich, this one is for both of you. How have each of you seen sales enablement evolving from working as a silo to a more unified approach within your organizations? Gaurav, if we could perhaps start with you.
The industry, as we have it now, has evolved and become more increasingly client-centric. There is an increased focus on virtual selling, speed to market, and customization. And as such, it has become imperative for organizations to be more nimble. Technology is usually the answer. If you look at today's tech stack, it's better than before. And this is where sales enablement as a function has followed suit and has become more solutions-driven. For example, speaking of silos, I have experience in my life, and I'm sure many of you have, content management was often very siloed. You had marketing content with some management and distribution process behind it. Then there's the non-discretionary product-specific content with a different management process, probably multiple SharePoint sites managed by different teams. Then there's additional content around internal trainings, announcements. So you can see that there's different SharePoint sites, different areas where content is managed. You sometimes get multiple versions of the same document. Version control is a problem. You see stale content being shared, and all that is far from being nimble. This is where sales enablement can and is making a difference by unifying these siloed processes within an appropriate tech stack that's available today.
Thank you really for those insights, Gaurav. Rich, what are your thoughts on this?
Thanks, Shipra. Technology has changed our expectations and culture to such an extent that we tend to want what we want now. How people consume information has changed from traditional static PDFs to more dynamic content, including blogs and social media. Changes in the markets, ESG concerns, and other world events require quick assessments, and meeting these demands requires a level of collaboration previously unheard of among traditional stakeholders. Technology teams, whether internal, external such as Acuity, or a combination of both, have become more critical partners. Seismic is a tool that helps us address some of these demands, and we're able to centralize content, streamline maintenance and support, and provide automation, customization, and personalization capabilities to our users.
Thanks, Gaurav and Rich. I think some of the key themes that I take away from your responses are around increasing volumes, increasing need for customization, as well as the need for collaboration to achieve this. To what extent would you say that technology has played a critical role in this transformation? Gaurav, perhaps we can start with you again.
Sure, that's a very good question, actually. At Neuberger Berman, our team oversees sales and marketing platforms globally, and we have a very strong partnership with technology. We couldn't survive without that. This partnership is all about creating efficiencies for the organization. And together we play a vital role in recognizing gaps that exist, identifying solutions, that can be efficiently scaled up. And I think this is happening in many organizations now. So I guess, how does technology manage customization and scale? I would say automation and integration. I know that kind of abbreviates to AI, so let's just call it integration and automation. By integrating your sales and marketing enablement platforms, you can enable seamless flow of information and automating processes to efficiently shorten your sales cycle. For example, let's go back to the case around content being managed in silos. There may be various reasons why you need to maintain different versions of, let's say, the same pitch book, right? Because there are different industry guidelines for different products, regions, jurisdictions, client types, etc. But this is where client automation can and is making a huge impact. So in this particular example, instead of maintaining 6 different versions, automation enables us to maintain one master version with the dynamic components built in, so the users can generate a customized version with the correct disclosures, watermarking, footnotes, etc., at the point of delivery.
Thanks, Gaurav, and I really like your interpretation of AI and IA. Rich, what is your take on this question?
It's very similar. I think you can look at this from 2 perspectives: technology as a platform and technology teams that are a critical part of the success of that platform. First, as a platform, Seismic has added significant capabilities to automate content and create custom compliance-approved presentations that are appropriate for the conversation end users are having with their clients. The platform has added additional capabilities that include us and allow us to be more effectively engaged in social media and to centralize internal training for users. The content management capabilities continue to be refined as well to allow for more efficient collateral maintenance. Second, our internal technology team, Seismic and Acuity, have been incredibly important partners with us in this journey. While customization and scale are at opposite ends of the same spectrum, our partnership with these technology teams has helped us to shorten that distance considerably. They've worked tirelessly with numerous internal stakeholders, including our investment, operations, and client advisory teams, to clean up our data and develop data governance frameworks that support our automation efforts. Technology teams have also been instrumental in building reporting and analytics tools that give us more insight into our interactions with clients and prospects. And this partnership helps us move the business forward and has led to some interesting initiatives. In addition, we've partnered with Acuity specifically to design and test numerous proofs of concept to leverage automation and further our overall implementation of Seismic.
That's really great to hear, Rich, and I'm glad we were part of the solution for you all at PGIM Fixed Income. So thank you for the partnership. Nareen, given your experience working with a large number of financial institutions, have you also observed similar trends when it comes to marketing operations, sales enablement, as well as technology?
Yeah, thank you, Shipra. Yes, I definitely have similar views as Gaurav and Rich on some of the key points they mentioned. Before I go there, maybe I would like to spend just a quick minute providing an overview of our business practice, financial marketing services. Over the last 14-15 years, I've seen a lot of advancements in the financial marketing space. At Acuity, we started with humble beginnings back in 2007, supporting a handful of asset managers with the first fact sheets production. Since then, we steadily graduated towards other marketing functions as well. And before we knew it, we were supporting close to 100 financial institutions across geographies. For example, as you can see on the slide, within pre-sales, we specifically work on RFPs, DDQs, RFP database management, competitor analysis, and of course, Seismic solutions. And speaking of client services, here we work towards assisting our clients with fact sheets, presentations, flyers, and other marketing collateral production. In addition to that, we provide investment writing support, prepare client reports, as well as offer other client servicing areas like client onboarding and query resolution. Furthermore, we have our fast-growing digital marketing division, where we lend support to various financial institutions across different areas such as web content management, email marketing, CRM, social media, lead scoring, and Google Analytics, to name a few. And today we have the privilege of working with at least 10 of the top 30 global asset managers, as well as many other managers in their efforts to implement several MarTech platforms and streamline their sales and marketing operations. And going back to your question, as I see, sales enablement, in my opinion, it's a relatively new concept for financial servicing firms. They have truly embraced this only in the last 6 or 7 years. If we go back a few years, sales, marketing operations, and even technology, as Gaurav rightly said, they were all operating mostly independently, creating a huge void. So what do I mean by this? For example, in the past, the performance and risk numbers shown on the website could be different from what was shown in pitch books or fact sheets. And we had to spend a lot of time auditing these numbers across all collaterals to make sure that they're consistent. And also even a small change in, let's say, design or disclaimers, all this led to significant efforts to implement across templates and often delay in production. While there have always been some efforts to bring in technology, no doubt about it, and automate, let's say, content production, etc. But again, they were all still working in silos. So this is where the need for a comprehensive sales enablement platform becomes critical. That is a platform which allows smooth coordination across teams, connects different databases, and still industrializes the production process to keep the costs in check. So in my opinion, I think Seismic is one such platform which ticks most of the required boxes.
Thanks, Naren, for those insights. And I think, the future does look bright with such platforms out there. My next question is actually for Rich. Let's dream a little. Today, if you were to consider purchasing a sales enablement platform, what are some of the key considerations that come to mind for you?
Well, for dreaming, I'd like it to read my mind. But in reality, any platform has features that can be appropriate for your needs. And having a clear idea of what you're intending to solve for and or improve is critical, so you can measure that solution against your strategic vision and tactical needs. Now, I would ask several questions that fall broadly into the following categories before putting forward any solution: implementation and integration, support, and reporting. So for implementation and integration, what business problem does the platform solve for, and how does it support the business as it grows? Who are the stakeholders and how will they be impacted? What existing workflows and processes are going to be affected? Does it lead to greater efficiency within the organization? And how easy is the tool to use? And what are going to be the challenges for user adoption? How well does the solution fit into the current tech stack? What software will this integrate with? And does the tool add unique value or cannibalize existing capabilities? From a support perspective, what type of knowledge, especially technical knowledge, is required to effectively deploy the solution now and to support it in the future? And then how well does the solution provider partner with you before, during, and after implementation? Are there resources to increase user knowledge and capabilities? And for reporting, what type of analytics and reporting will the solution provide? What integrations are available with business intelligence tools? How customized are you able to get with the reporting structure, and will allow you to measure those metrics and KPIs that are important to you? Those questions would help me start to understand the benefits and value of the platform, so I could assess if those benefits justify the costs.
Makes sense. And I think those are all very pertinent considerations when selecting a platform. It's certainly not an easy feat to find the right fitment. I'd now love to turn our attention to the audience as we have our first poll question coming up on the screen shortly. We would love to hear about all of your sales enablement setup. If we could kindly pull up the poll question, please. The first question that you should be seeing shortly on your screen is, do you currently use Seismic as a tool? The options that you have are A, yes, we do use Seismic within our organization. Currently, we don't use the Seismic tool, but are considering it as an option. C, we use some other internal or sales enablement and marketing content automation tool. And D, we don't feel a sales enablement tool is currently needed for our organization. So while we wait for our attendees to kind of respond to that particular question, I'd like to continue further with the discussion. Gaurav and Rich, both of your firms have successfully implemented Seismic as an enablement tool within the organizations. What were some of the benefits as well as the key challenges that you were able to solve for as a result of bringing in Seismic? Again, maybe we can start with Gaurav and then bring in Rich.
Sure. I think the biggest benefit I have seen is what I like to call the democratization of the sales enablement process, specifically around content. As the teams that own and publish content feel more empowered to manage their content on their terms, but within a defined structural guidelines and governance practices. So number one, you're removing those silos. Content automation was also able to save us a lot of resource hours, reduce manual steps, and it also provides oversight. There is a very high level of operational visibility for compliance. We have about 200, I would say, content publishers and thousands of pieces of collateral, including many with some form of automation. So you can imagine the scale. The benefit that Seismic provides is that we are able to manage all of this with a very small team, including the Acuity resources. So that's from my team's perspective. For sales, Seismic is a one-stop shop for accessing client-approved content, shared content, as well as tracked engagements. Most importantly, the integration with the Salesforce CRM and the available add-ins are extremely helpful for the teams when they're on the road. I think in conclusion, I would say a sales enablement platform like Seismic brings a lot of the disparate functions together, and it creates a central location where all client-approved content can be stored, managed, updated, and easily accessible for sales. Having an analytics background, I have to say Seismic provides tracking and usage metrics, which are extremely helpful for marketing and collateral teams. I wonder if Rich has some similar experiences.
Thanks, Gaurav. Initially, we used Seismic in a limited capacity as a content repository, and that helped us with ease of maintenance and periodic updates. As the platform evolved, we've been able to implement more customization and personalization capabilities to support our stakeholders more effectively. I would definitely agree with some of the points you raised about content automation and sales. The evolution of Seismic has also allowed us to reduce delivery time and repetitive manual work while making more content more accessible to our users. In addition, adopting Seismic has allowed us to be more nimble with how we provide support to our colleagues in client acquisition and retention, and we continue to partner closely and strengthen relationships with those stakeholders. That being said, the evolution of Seismic also creates some challenges for the business. As Seismic's capabilities continue to evolve, the challenge becomes determining which part or parts are appropriate for adoption and how the business can implement them to achieve desired results. There may be compliance or workflow challenges that arise with the new capabilities, and we must evaluate the benefits, risks, and costs of those new capabilities, how they fit into our overall strategy, and whether we have the resources to really take advantage of those changes.
That's really interesting, Rich. I think the point that you raised, particularly about the evolution of the tool and some of the challenges that in and of itself would pose, is very relevant for folks to consider. And I really do want to dive a little bit more into that. But before we go further, we now have the poll results coming up from the first question. And it seems that almost 80% of these participants today are either using Seismic or considering it for implementation. So really happy to see that this particular topic at hand and webinar would be very relevant for most of you here today. I'd now like to come back to my question and around the discussion, which is, even though technology keeps evolving, right, the onus is really up to financial institutions to grow their own functions and also keep pace with some of these best practices. So I guess, what are some of the challenges that you've faced, and what have been some of your key learnings in this area when it comes to this? Perhaps, Gaurav, we can start with you again.
I would say like any other tool, Seismic has evolved over time, and specifically off late, there have been many new upgrades. And there were some UX updates that didn't necessarily improve the user experience. So you often have to stay on top of all of that. When you have been on a platform for 6+ years, like we have, there are many legacy settings, processes that users are accustomed to. So it's always a challenge to make sure that there is minimal impact to your business as usual processes while you make these upgrades. There's also sometimes resistance to change. We've had some good learnings from those experiences recently. Mainly, I would say, try to stay on top of these things, get early access to these upgrades if possible, have a comprehensive testing plan, and involve your key stakeholders so that there are no surprises. As mentioned earlier, we have hundreds of premium users globally. So from my team's perspective, the challenge and the goal for us is to be able to balance our day-to-day support and also manage our roadmap items. This is where Acuity has been a great support, and we have found this model of having an in-house product owner combined with contracted support from Acuity to be quite effective. So this is something that each firm needs to assess for themselves. What's the right support structure? Because that is going to be essential for your success. Not to forget, user adoption has been a challenge as well. Although honestly, I feel like there's more we could be doing on that front. In the past, a lot of our focus was on content automation, and we have done a lot of progress there. But user adoption is something that we have been focusing on lately. I'll pass it on to Rich and see what your thoughts are.
Thanks, and I agree. I think that the constant evolution of Seismic's capabilities has kind of forced us to think about how we craft solutions to implement that are flexible enough that we really don't have to recreate the wheel. I mean, a lack of a true dev environment to test in and release enhancements from poses a challenge and a risk as you're constantly working in a live environment. Seismic also has periodic releases that you cannot opt out of, which impact the platform, and as you mentioned, don't really necessarily improve the user experience. Having a consistent knowledge base among end users, content owners, and technology teams is also a challenge. The evolution of the platform means different skill sets and expertise play an increasingly significant role at different points within that process. So partnering with a specialist like Acuity has been a huge help for us, since they work with so many other asset managers that are tackling similar challenges.
Again, very interesting perspectives, Gaurav as well as Rich. And I think one of the commonalities which I saw in your responses was the partnership and leveraging Acuity as a potential solution, right? So Naren, I think definitely kudos to you and your teams for this, and would love to peel the onion a little bit further and get your thoughts as well.
Sure, Shipra. First of all, thank you, Gaurav and Rich, for being such great partners, and the feeling is definitely mutual. Shipra, coming back to the question, that's a very good question. See, currently we have met with over 100 financial institutions for Seismic, and each and every one of these has their own unique challenges. It depends on where they are in the Seismic journey. For example, let's say if a manager has just started using Seismic, they might be facing issues with transition, identifying use cases, user adoption, or to an extent live docs, and also trainings, maybe compared to someone who has been using the platform for some time and would want to step up their game. However, broadly, I would also classify the challenges into three categories, as Gaurav and Rich already mentioned. Firstly, the resistance to change. As Gaurav said, it's very common for any technological change to be met with resistance, and often it results in lower user adoption. To give an example, one of the asset managers I work with, they had subscribed to multiple reporting platforms, including Seismic. After we analyzed their tech stack, fact sheet formats, data flow, and other collaterals they were producing, we concluded that it is best they migrate the fact sheets production process onto Seismic. Initially, as expected, to be honest, they were slightly reluctant. They were not confident because of their lack of exposure to the platform, and they did not want to rock the boat. But we educated them and we demonstrated how they could implement this. Post successful implementation today, they have seen visible improvements in terms of 1, data accuracy, 2, reduced turnaround time, and more importantly, they also saved additional licensing costs they used to pay by unsubscribing to other overlapping applications. Now, going back to the challenges, the second challenge is using Seismic as a content repository only, right? Rich already mentioned, we do come across some managers using Seismic primarily as a document repository or for document version control, missing out on its broader functionalities, literally as a replacement of SharePoint. Again, this is not an ideal usage. And the last challenge, of course, we have our popular data accuracy and governance issues. Ensuring data accuracy and maintaining data integrity, it can be challenging for any organization, particularly when you're dealing with multiple data sources or lacking sufficient data governance. However, since data governance is an ongoing issue, we have worked with our clients to help them get the best out of Seismic by finding workarounds, streamlining upstream data flows, and developing some highly customized, smart intermediate solutions to bridge the gaps. So these are some of the key challenges we have also noticed. But again, just to reiterate, there are always some workarounds we can find to overcome them.
Thanks so much, Naren. And I think it really does take a village to come full circle. So I did want to inform our listeners that we actually have our third poll question coming up, a second poll question coming up on your screen, which actually touches upon how Seismic has been adopted within your organization. So the question that we have is, if you currently use Seismic as a tool, which is the widely adopted functionality within your organization? 1, you use it mainly as a document repository. 2, you leverage live docs to automate collaterals. 3, you generate insights as well as content usage analytics. And 4th, you use the Salesforce and CRM integration. And once again, while we wait for our audience to answer this particular question, you'd like to go back to what we were saying, which is really about educating both internal stakeholders and encouraging them to use Seismic to make sure you're really making the most out of the platform. Gaurav, I guess this question's for you, right? Because given the scale that you have at Neuberger Berman, the potential impact of any technology implementation is considerable. How did you help facilitate adoption of Seismic within your organization?
Sure. So at Neuberger Berman, we have 2 sets of users. That's kind of how we manage it. One is the backend users. These are the content owners, managers, publishers. The adoption has been quite good within this group, as they are able to see the value in content automation, and it saves them a lot of time and manual repetitive work. There is willingness to learn and upskill as they see it as a fair trade-off. We provide them with hands-on training for new users. There's training documentation and videos on Seismic. And we've also started to engage some of our advanced users, like the collateral management teams, with tailored training sessions. For example, one specific functionality like shared slides, and then spend an hour on it. This is where the Acuity support has also been instrumental in assisting us with these sessions and setting those up. The second set of users are the front-end users. This is essentially the sales teams. As mentioned earlier, the adoption there has been tepid, but it's improving. They do see Seismic as a useful resource for accessing collateral, but not much more than that. So for that group, we're always looking for opportunities to highlight the benefits of Seismic, specifically the ease of use around the Outlook add-ins for live send, the activity tracking ability within engagements, and workspace. And we have some technical challenges, but we are hoping to roll out Seismic application soon, which should hopefully help boost adoption. We have also recently started engaging some of our users in one-to-one conversations to get feedback. We have scheduled office hours for support, and we plan to start user groups within Neuberger Berman to tap into for advocacy purposes.
Thanks so much, Gaurav. And I apologize for having to go off camera for a second. The light in my room went off. Apparently, I wasn't moving enough. But we seem to be back in action now. So thank you so much, Gaurav, for those interesting points around user adoption. We actually have our responses back from the poll questions. And it seems that one of the powerful features within Seismic that folks are actually using is live docs. Rich, would be really great to understand, is it the same within PGIM fixed income as well?
Absolutely. Live docs are a game changer for us and are a critical part of our Seismic implementation. As a feature, live docs are highly versatile and can be used in numerous ways depending upon your business need. We've used them as static content up to highly customizable automated decks. Again, they're very flexible and they can be tailored to solve a variety of challenges quickly and at scale. Live docs can also significantly improve operational efficiency and reduce the amount of time spent on content maintenance, including your strategy decks and your fact sheets. Depending on your build, you can update and share content changes across multiple documents at once with a single update, and content creators can easily stand up custom content and be nimble to feedback. Keep in mind, though, The more you customize and automate the build in the live docs, the more intensive they are to maintain, and the more collaboration becomes essential to making sure you're delivering the right outcome.
That's really interesting, Rich. I think good to know that you also use live docs similar to seems a huge part of our audience here today. We do have actually our third poll question that's now going to be coming up on your screen. And we would love to understand what could be the potential reasons for underutilization of the tool in your organizations. So the question that you would now see up on the screen is, what are some of the critical challenges in increasing Seismic usability within your organization? The first is limited bandwidth. Secondly, lack of Seismic skilled resources. Third is a limited scope of application. And fourth is stakeholder acceptance and testing. And once again, while we wait for our audience to come back with the answers, I think we can move on to the next part of our discussion. And I think surely, there are other contenders as well when it comes to features and usage potential within Seismic. Gaurav, I think Neuberger is one of the firms that has used Live Insights extensively for content usage analytics. What impact has it made for your organization?
So Live Insights, for those who may not be familiar with it, is Seismic's out-of-the-box reporting capability. We mainly use Live Insights to get adoption and usage metrics. Specifically, it can help track what content is being used, how much is being used, and by who. This helps us identify what content or types of collateral is popular. Maybe there are some that are good candidates for automation, or maybe even good candidates for decommissioning. So that's really helpful information to have. One of the key benefits of Seismic, and I cannot stress this enough, and maybe this is because it's the analyst in me, is the engagement data. Content shared through Seismic or its add-ins, like the Outlook add-in, can be tracked through various activities. This is, for example, this is like getting opens and clicks on your marketing emails. It provides an additional insight into client behavior. And so as such, we have just started to dabble into this by piloting a Seismic to Snowflake data connector. As Snowflake subscribers, we have access to all our Seismic data through this data shared capabilities. And we can report on it, we can feed it into our data warehouse, and we can also feed it into our lead gen engine. So as you can see, there's a lot of potential with the data because Seismic does collect a lot of activity data. But I will say that there is a considerable amount of ETL work needed to get this data into usable structure, which is why we're starting small with just a few use cases.
Great. Rich, I know at PGIM Fixed Income, you all have integrated Seismic within your CRM. So how has this helped your sales and marketing functions collaborate better?
Well, I mean, our technology team has done an amazing job integrating Seismic within the CRM. And that strong partnership with them has led to a large success with the integration of the embedded app within Salesforce. We use that connection for Seismic's predictive content feature. And what predictive content does is it allows you to define certain criteria, and then relevant content will be surfaced as a result of that. We can then personalize the content for an engagement. And the integration with the CRM also allows us to leverage live send, which is another feature. And that feature allows us to get a sense of how our content is being consumed. And we're kind of in the early stages of leveraging that. Live send data would tie into the Live Insights feature that Gaurav just spoke about to get you more information on those analytics. Additionally, our technology team has built an insightful proprietary report using data from the CRM that we can generate a report out of Seismic with. This report's helping us to manage our client relationships and identify KPIs. And we're working on additional reporting that will help us improve our efficiency and better support our clients and our stakeholders.
So we actually have the poll results, and it's really not surprising to see that many companies are underutilizing the tool because of bandwidth constraints. Naren, I think this definitely means that there's more opportunity for specialists to create bandwidth and also value. So what are some of your thoughts on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Our philosophy has always been to find synergies between one's skilled resources and the technology to add value for our clients. So this allows our clients to save their precious bandwidth to focus more on their core deliverables. So in short, to utilize Seismic to its fullest potential, you do need a specialist with the required skills and knowledge. To give an example, we work with one of our US-based asset managers to help them address the bandwidth issue and frame their overall content management strategy. Let's see if we can find the case study to share, so it might help audience to relate better. While we are bringing up the case study in the meantime, let me reflect a bit on this success story. So for this US client, we first evaluated their current content setup, content repository, types of collaterals, data sources, and workflow. Then based on their overall content management vision, we drafted the migration plan. Oh yeah, this is the client I was talking about. So basically, to help this client to streamline their data governance, we assigned a team of Acuity Seismic experts who automated first the data sourcing and then standardizing the data, and also implemented a few validation processes. This reduced the need for manual work and enhanced the data quality. Then we also built a slide library within Seismic where we organized, linked, and categorized all slides, set up tags and folders as well. Then we made live docs with multiple variables, dynamic and shared components. Lastly, we used live insights to create dashboards for content usage analysis. So overall today, as you can see on the slide, with this content management plan, this client is able to migrate more than 6,000 slides, completely manage all of their 200 plus different types of collaterals, including pitch books, fact sheet, sales ideas, brochures, and other types of marketing collaterals on Seismic, and saved a significant bandwidth of 2,000 plus hours annually for their marketing operations team. So coming back to your question, Shipra, with over 70 certified Seismic specialists in our team at Acuity, this is one of the examples of how specialists can help our clients at different stages of implementation as well as ongoing maintenance.
No, thanks very much, Naren, again for your valuable insights. Hard to believe, but time seems to be flying by. I hope you all would agree that this has been a very engaging discussion on a key emerging topic. Before we move on to Q&A, I would like to ask each of our panelists to kindly share their advice for those who are yet to embark on this journey or are at different stages of their Seismic adoption. Again, maybe Gaurav, we can start with you.
Thanks. I think we have covered a lot of benefits and challenges, so I'll keep it short. And then, depending on who you talk to, there could be more benefits and challenges to talk about. What's clear is Seismic is a very powerful sales enablement tool with a lot of functionality. So I think it's important to identify what your needs are and then pick those functionalities accordingly. I recently read chiefmartech.com, which they publish their annual Martech supergraphic, and there are currently over 11,000 Martech tools in the market, which means there's a tool for everything. You can think about it and the tools there. Seismic is, in my opinion, more like a Swiss Army knife with a lot of different functions. So you can implement it for one specific need, but then scale up as your needs change. So it's very important to first identify what your needs are and then, think about Seismic.
Rich, thanks. Rich, would you like to chime in?
I agree. Seismic is an extremely powerful platform that continues to evolve and provide more capabilities. Having a clear understanding of the problem or problems that you're trying to solve with the tool is going to help you to identify the right stakeholders, help determine an appropriate implementation strategy, and help align teams internally to adopt and increase your adoption of the solution. Partnering with technology early is imperative, whether it's a strong internal technology team or a partner like Acuity or Seismic. Because the Seismic platform is flexible, implementing a clear set of frameworks from the business at a high level for content creation and development is critical, and just making sure you have some good guardrails there. As the old adage goes, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Seismic can give you much more than just a hammer, but you need to have a clear vision of your desired content management and enablement goals to be able to pull the right tool out of the toolbox and use it for the right reasons.
Naren?
Sure. In my opinion, the sales enablement landscape is ever changing and contains within itself multiple challenges. Seismic as a tool in its true avatar helps tackle those challenges head on. However, I completely agree with Rich and Gaurav. No matter how advanced and intuitive tools get, role of specialists are only going to get more and more critical because specialists understand overall tonality of the content and eventually the pulse of business to make any investments into MarTech more meaningful.
Thank you all for those insights. Happy to say we're now at the Q&A part of our discussion, and I would love to open it up to our audience for some questions. I see we already have a number of questions coming in. And actually, the first question is actually to you, Rich. And it is, how was your input data set up when you onboarded Seismic? It seems because our data is mostly all over the place and we want to know at what stage Seismic can be implemented.
That's a great question. And the answer is really, it depends, which isn't the best response. We had data all over the place as well, and had a really intensive initiative to try and clean up and understand what is it we wanted to automate first, and then what were the key pieces that need to be set for a foundation to do that. So whether you're looking to do client data or prospect data, understanding what are the challenges and the differences in what you're trying to display, and then building a foundation that can be scalable because the platform will evolve. You will be able to implement more automation features easier, but really just having that solid foundation and the intention of what it is you're trying to automate for, and how you want that consumed by your end users, both internally and as they're using it with clients. And that should help you frame that strategy a little.
Thanks again, Rich. It seems our next question is actually to Gaurav. Gaurav, you mentioned that you're planning to roll out the Seismic application for your users. Could you please provide us more details around this? And also, how are you taking care of compliance restrictions in terms of the ability to download content on mobile, etc.?
Yeah, so thank you. That's actually a very good question. We're actually in the middle of those conversations right now. So Seismic actually has multiple features where you can actually, so let me tackle the downloading content and those things first. So Seismic has a lot of features that you can actually control, where you can avoid, prevent downloading of the content or sharing of the content through any distribution services that's outside of Seismic. So for example, on your phone, you cannot download it to your personal drive and things like that. So I think those features are quite beneficial, and we're looking into those. The one challenge from the compliance perspective, or really rather from the information security perspective that we're having, is the IP restrictions. So Seismic hasn't been able to provide a solution for that yet, where if we do have IP restrictions in place, and we have a bring your own device policy, the users who are outside our allowable IPs will not be able to access the app. So that's kind of like the challenge that we are up against right now, which Seismic hasn't been able to provide an answer for. But overall, the app itself, we have done some testing. It's a really good app, very good experience. And like I said, there are a lot of good security features which can be enabled to ensure that compliance and information security is comfortable with the use of the application.
No, thanks, Gaurav. And I think certainly getting past some of these challenges when it comes to the compliance and information security is an uphill battle, but hopefully well worth it once you're able to get through some of those. I think we have our next question, and this seems to be directed at the broader panel. So I guess any of you could potentially take it. It says we have funds registered across regions, and one issue is to manage region-specific disclosures. Have the panelists addressed this challenge, and if so, how?
Maybe Shipra, I will take that question.
Sure.
That's a great question, and because it is something we often get. So we handle disclaimers by leveraging some of the built-in functionalities within Seismic and finding, again, some smarter ways to address the issue. So if you look at it, there are two types of disclaimers. One is, let's call it as in-between document disclaimers, such as maybe footnotes and other notes that come at the end of a slide chart, a table. So these disclaimers are specific to each data point and can range from simple footnotes that automatically populate when there is no data for the current report period, to larger, more complex performance and index-based footnotes, and even from regulatory perspective. And the second type of such disclaimers are end of the document disclaimers, which are typically 1 to 2 pages long, but they can be even longer for some managers. So we try to keep both of these types of disclaimers dynamic to accommodate periodic updates, such as, let's say, if, updates are required in terms of date, a region, or any other specifics. This way, we don't need to maintain a huge list of disclaimers and can make changes pretty fast. For in-between document disclaimers, we typically leverage Seismic list. We create dynamic tables within live docs and pull these disclaimers using variables. And for end of the page disclaimers, we maintain a library of disclaimers and pull them based on the user selection through live forms. However, we do not just use the library of disclaimers because it will create a slightly issue in terms of getting multiple combinations. So behind the scenes, what we do is we make this more robust by creating a master slide to act as an intermediary. This way, we don't end up creating a long list of disclaimer combinations and slides. So this approach of N-to-1 and 1-to-N or 1-to-many approach for managing disclaimers, it has helped us quite a bit. I hope this answers the question. So Shipra, you're on mute.
Yes, we have to have that happen at least once, right, during every conversation. So I was just saying, taking a quick stock on time, I think we have maybe time for 1 or 2 more questions before we start wrapping up. So the next question, it seems, is again for Gaurav. We know that Seismic provides PPT as a platform for templates. The question is, we have InDesign templates for our collaterals. Does Seismic provide capability to integrate with InDesign?
Honestly, I'm not aware. Maybe this is something we can take back and follow up on.
Certainly, Gaurav.
Sure.
Not a problem. Yeah, we can circle back on that. So I think we have maybe 1 more question now. This one's directed for Rich. Rich, when it comes to predictive content, could you provide some examples of how you're leveraging it by linking it to your CRM?
Yeah. So we have probably 3 or 4 different user bases that we have distinct profiles for within Seismic, and each of them need a different end output. They need a different presentation. Some users need to have access to multiple profiles depending upon what regions they're operating in. And so how we're using it currently, there are criteria that define which profile or which delivery mechanism we're sending this content to. So we're going to know US sales might need a different set of collateral than our European sales might need. We might have some internal operations teams that just need a ability to store the most current regulatory documentation. And so we can define through the use of profiles and also with the predictive content, setting up what are called custom properties within the system. You can define those by your team sites, and it's really flexible with how you set them up, but you can make those relevant to the users that are going to need that content. Basically use that as metadata so that we can surface that content and then publish it to the profiles, and through the use of user groups, really restrict who has access to see what profile or what content is available. So it's kind of an integration from knowing who needs the pieces and how do we split that out with these custom properties and metadata to make sure that the right users see what they need to see while restricting content that maybe is not important to someone else.
Thanks, Rich. I think we have time for 1 more question, it looks like, and the question is for Naren. Naren, how do you handle compliance approval of custom decks? Do they require review prior to use? And what do you use as your compliance approval tool?
Sure. So it's slightly tricky because the workflow would vary from client to client. What we have noticed is many of our clients use different tools like Workfront, Redvoke, and some other even proprietary tools, which we are quite familiar with. So within Seismic, the way we help is we help our clients to set up, let's say, with a workflow management system where they can onboard compliance team and marketing team to assist sales team and help with getting required approvals before even they publish any custom presentations. So the materials which get uploaded onto Seismic portal are already approved by marketing team for sales to use. And then again, they will go to the workflow management process for another review. So basically, depending on a client's preference and also what is the arrangement they have with their internal compliance team, we can set up such workflow within Seismic.
Thanks, Naren and Gaurav and Rich for fielding some of those questions. Unfortunately, it looks like in the interest of time, we won't be able to answer any more questions live here today. But as I mentioned earlier, we have made note of the questions and we'll be contacting each of you shortly to take those further. In the interim, though, if you do want to get in touch with any of the panelists at Acuity or Gaurav or Rich for any further questions around Seismic or sales enablement or anything related to marketing operations, you have our contact details up on your screen. Feel free to reach out to us at any point. So it looks like, unfortunately, we have to end the fun. We are going to have to draw this webinar to a close, and I'd like to really thank our audience for coming out in huge numbers to be here with us today and also participating through the polling questions. We really hope that you found the discussion insightful. I know I personally learned a lot. And before you all sign off, we would request that if you could take a few moments to please share your feedback. This will really help us improve future experiences for webinars that we may have coming up. And last, but most importantly, I wanted to thank our panelists for sharing their valuable insights and perspectives and for making the time to be here with us today. Again, it's been a really great discussion and really appreciate all of your insights, Gaurav, Rich, as well as Naren. And thank you for the larger audience, as I said, for coming out in such great numbers, and we hope to see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.